Hello, hello. Welcome to Producing in Pandemic, our 25th session of Producing in Pandemic. Today is Labor Day, and we would like you all to just really get into those relaxing vibes. The Calling of Justice crew, we met and we asked ourselves, should we even gather on Labor Day if this day is supposed to be about giving ourselves a break and celebrating the act of labor and this thing that we do, cultural producing, it is labor. However, we also recognize that for many of us, this is a time to gather that's rejuvenative. So we would like to give everyone permission to today. You have permission to leave, y'all. You don't have to stay here. You could go to the, well, I'm in my imaginary beach, but you can go take the day off, be free. However, if you want to stick around, we're going to invite us all to do the thing we always do, which is introduce ourselves, talk about our practice, share a challenge that happened this week, or share a discovery that happened this week. This is in the knowledge that we're going to be a smaller group this week because we've spread the word. It's Labor Day, y'all. If you want to go be free, go be free. We've also gathered some wonderful resources just to give ourselves a little more rooting on what the day is, like what is Labor Day? Why do we even do it? And then we wanted to invite folks to, again, if you are still here with us and still feeling like this is rejuvenative and awesome, we're gonna have a conversation about labor and equity and some of those issues in our work, if that feels good to folks. But before we do that, let's begin by introducing ourselves. I will model. And I'm going to invite one of my colleagues, if you can make sure to drop in the chat the different things we say to introduce ourselves, and I'll try and just remember them off the top of my head. We've done this 25 times. Hi, I'm Claudia Alick. I'm speaking to you from the Calling Up Justice practice. I'm part of a decentralized producing team, so my piece of the practice is based here in the Bay Area, land of the Ohlone people. The people are still alive. I also now take this as a moment just to acknowledge that in the United States, we have concentration camps. That's a thing that's happening in our country right now. So this is just a moment to shout out all my incarcerated and enslaved brothers and sisters in the past and today. My gender pronouns are they, their, she, hers. You can use those interchangeably. My practice is a transmedia social justice practice. So we had a lot of really big, beautiful exchanges last week. Like one of the goals that I've had that's I'm pretty explicit about is I want to have as many Black producers producing stuff, digital producers, Black digital producers. And last week we were able to successfully support a production, connect a Black digital producer to some artists, and that was a really joyful moment. We were able to produce a community event that was joyful and gigantic and gorgeous. So it's been a lot of really beautiful work. And this week we're prepping for the build convening, and that's been an exciting thing. And the thing that I learned today, this is a really small learning, but I'm going to share it with y'all. So we're creating a in memoriam video for all of the folks that have been lost in our theater field in the past 6 or 7 months. We have a video designer working with us, and I create digital structures where everybody has equal access to everything at the very beginning of the design process, so that later on, I don't have the annoying experience of having to go back in and give people the keys to the shop. I'm like, everyone should know how to get in, grab the collateral, make the things, have opinions on the things. Found out with Google Forms, if you give people access to the form, you haven't necessarily given them access to where any data will be stored from that form. So if that form is pulling photos or video collateral, you also have to share the folder. A very silly learning, but it was one that cost me about 15 minutes of text messaging back and forth yesterday. And I was like, I just learned something, and I'm going to make sure that when next time I do this, I share both spaces. All right, those were, oh, and we also do an access check-in. My access check-in is, y'all, it's hot where I'm at. I don't know where y'all are at. If it's hot, and the air is still a little bit dusty. So I'm drinking a whole lot of water. You see that water back behind me? I'm just drinking all of it. If I go off frame, I'm still with you. I'm just getting more water. Other than that, all my access needs are met. And check. And the way we share power here is folks just put their name in the chat, and then you just call on yourself. You just take agency and you just unmute yourself and begin speaking. And that's how we manage the space. So I won't be calling on folks. I'm gonna mute myself and let us begin.
I will go next to give a chance to folks to queue up in the chat. Hello, my name is Hulu Tzawaf. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm speaking to you from Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is the ancestral homeland of the Osage, the Caddo, and the Quapaw people. I am a theater director and deviser, and I'm part of the Calling Up Justice producing team. My access needs are met. I'm having my coffee, and it's also hot here in Fayetteville, but it's unfortunately not unusual. What else? Discoveries this week. I'm working on editing videos for the Calling Up Justice team, and it was a fun discovery of finding that balance. If you're putting something that was produced on Zoom, how do I tell that story in the editing? How do I share that this was a Zoom event? How much footage do I share that was actually shared there and let it enlarge, take the whole space of the screen? And how much do I let that, the presence of this is a Zoom event be part of this? So that was a fun discovery in terms of aesthetically in the editing world. And that's it for me, check.
Well, I put my name in the chat, so I think I'm next. And I did see that we made voice for Heather, but I'll let someone else decide how to voice that. I'm Joshua Waterstone. I'm calling in from the Bay Area, Ohlone land. I am, my pronouns are he, him. I'm glad to be here with all of you, despite it being Labor Day. It's nice to see all of you. And I'm artistically, I do directing and acting on like more the producing side. I do production management and educating. And I did prepare, and I didn't know whether that was our agenda for today or not. I did prepare AirMe if we were going to do a virtual field trip, but if we're not, I'm happy to yield time as well. What else? I think that's most of it. Access needs are met. Oh, okay. A discovery, challenge or discovery from this week. You know, it's, we put together, I'm also working with Fool's Fury on helping with build, and I made a video for them, and we put that together the past week. And it's interesting, just communication over multiple artists, getting them in the same room to film something. That can be a challenge, right? Just and also, what's the best way to communicate during this time? Some people prefer text, some people prefer emails and scheduling meetings. Just I think the logistics of not being able to gather in one room to film something, but to have to gather in multiple rooms can be a challenge. Great, check.
I put my name after, but I don't know who's I don't know somebody want that, or should I go? Just give me I'll go. We will voice you. Heather, we will voice you soon. Hi everybody, I'm Carlos Alexis, if I can speak Spanish now, Carlos Alexis Cruz. I'm talking to you all from the land of the Catawba and Sugary people, Charlotte, North Carolina. I also always bring present my Taino heritage as Puerto Rican, and you know, I want to keep always this wall behind me. What can I say? My access needs are met, and I'm happy to be here today on Labor Day. My only Labor Day thing that is happening is that I allow my daughters to be in this room with me. So they are, you know, coloring and doing stuff in there. So that's where you saw somebody peeking over here and whatnot. But I think it's, you know, we're home. We wanted to go to a lake, and then we thought some of the parks still closed, even though Charlotte is moving to phase 2.5 or something like that. They're calling it now. But the parks are still closed. So we just then, if that's the thing that is happening, then we're not going to risk it. We're not going to go to the beach or anything like that. So, you know, we're here. And what is it? I also forgot that I'm a faculty member, and today is the first day of class, although my first day of class is tomorrow. So I have to, you know, get on canvas and make sure that everything is set for them. A good discovery this weekend for me was, well, we keep doing what we're trying to do with New Pursuit, obviously, because we're doing site-specific work, and starting streaming that and how that is connecting with people is exciting. I also was able to attend the San Diego Rep New Play Fest, Latinx New Play Festival, you know, the past few days. And I was actually surprised about the platform they chose. Hopin, I think is what it's called. It was a very seamlessly kind of transition from stage. And they had an icon for stage, an icon for presentations, and an icon for like, you know, breakout sessions. And you could easily move through those and, you know, and boom, and being in another room and connected with a ton of people from all over the country. And yeah, you know, there's so many possibilities and platforms to continue to discover and see what actually meets our needs. So yeah, anyways, that was a good discovery and something. See, they're here. So I guess that's my cue to pass it to Sharon, I think.
Yes, but before Sharon begins, I'm going to voice Heather's introduction. Heather is having some audio difficulties. So in the chat, and you've introduced yourself a number of times, and I'm about to, I believe, 100% mispronounce your last name, so I'm apologizing in advance. Heather Ondersma. She, her, zooming in from Alone lands, Chichenyo, speaking people, a language that is being spoken today, freelance director, intimacy professional, so many interesting virtual events happening, about to happen this week, excited about that, and also about Claudia's post on Facebook about the recent Zoom updates. Yes, control over the Zoom boxes, yes. And check. And now if Sharon wants to introduce those, please go right ahead. I shall mute myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia. Sharon Nyree Williams. Hold up. I lost the she, her pronouns. I'm in the land of the Coast Salish people here in Seattle, Washington. But Carlos, I am actually from Fayetteville, North Carolina. My practice, I am the executive director for the Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas. We present and produce Black cultural programs here in Seattle, various genres. I am also a storyteller, and that means I do solo performance, poetry plus storytelling albums, things of that nature. What have I? Access needs are met. I got my orange juice. I'm up, but I will go back and lay down after this. A challenge or discovery from this week. I think as an artist, my discovery was not being afraid to ask for something in negotiation. So I was accepted into the Black Voices Festival in LA. And I was prepared to fly down and record and stream out of their studio, out of the White Fire Theater. And I simply asked, can I do that from here? I have friends with nice setups and things of that nature. And they said yes. And so I get to save my ticket. And so just not being afraid, being cautious of asking, but not wanting to rock the boat was a great discovery that that people are willing to work with you. So that's my check-in. Check. I think I'm passing to Adriana.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm off camera today. I'm having some issues with my camera. So if I get it working, I'll do it later. But right now, I'm off. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm Latina and also an actor and producer. Some of the things that I learned this week, I was totally checking out what they did use, the hop-in. I was checking out the Zoom updates, and then something else that I learned. We were doing some pre-recording videos for a reading, and apparently some Windows users were having trouble with using their Zoom virtual their OBS virtual camera in Zoom. So not everybody was able to use their virtual cam, so we had to scratch OBS for the particular project that I was working on. So that was interesting for me. Let me see. I'm trying to go back to the chat, so forgive me to see who's next.
Well, this is
Rebecca.
just interrupting a little bit. The beautiful thing about this performative score is others have agency to call on themselves. So it kind of gets rid of the tension of being like, who is supposed to go after me? You don't need to name them. They get to name themselves.
Good morning, it's Mickey Goldhaber. Sorry, I'm not supposed to apologize. I'm sorry. Okay, I literally did it. I just apologize for apologizing. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so
We can. Yes, we can.
okay, so good morning from Berkeley, California, Ohlone territory, and I am the artistic director of Rycliffe's Disabled Women's Theater and the lead instigator of the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival. And it's challenging for me in the mornings, but I really do like to come to this meeting, so I come however I can. And I watched some of Lear again this weekend and just managed to actually get a bunch of my family's kids to sit down and watch it, and they thought it was really cool, so that was fun. And then I watched In Love and Warcraft, which has some really, lovely acting and figuring out how to connect in the Zoomosphere. Very, very simple in a lot of ways, but definitely worth checking out. And thinking about lots of potential projects, but just trying to keep working on the ones I'm working on. And I'll tap out there.
Awesome. I think that's me then. Hi, Rebecca Pingree, she, hers. I am speaking to you from the unceded Chochenyo Ohlone land, commonly known as Berkeley, California. I founded a tiny theater company just before the pandemic started that was focused on pre-digital technologies. We're called Analog Theater, and we do masks and puppets and rolling around on the floor like you do. None of that is on the table right now. So here I am, and the challenge this week is we were supposed to have a Fringe show, but the live Fringe, a San Francisco Fringe, I should say. We're supposed to do a show at the San Francisco Fringe this year, but there is no live Fringe, so we're involved in the sneak peek of the Fringe, which opens this Sunday. So we'll have a short segment this Sunday, and we're navigating the people who are going to be speaking with us and just the different expectations of trying to have a tech process for a virtual event when all of the expectations are all over the map and the people who are normally very good at producing in a live space and have been doing it for many, many, many years don't have any experience, and they're the ones facilitating everything. And so it's trying to like be respectful and also tell people how to do what they're trying to do and these things. So it's a lot of diplomacy exercises and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and that's me.
I believe that's all who said they would want to introduce themselves, unless there is anyone else who would like to say hello and hi, Gigi. But I believe this is it, unless anyone else wants to go, and I'm handing it to you, Claudia. I know there are some exciting videos you want to share.
Indeed, indeed. Well, as I stated at the top of our gathering, today is Labor Day. And in theory, this is a day to be on vacation, to take the day off, or to leave that thing we call labor. For many of us, we do all kinds of different types of laboring, right? We do labor that sometimes isn't actually feeding our artistic practice, but also our artistic practice is also labor. What is this thing we're talking about? Also, what's the story of this day? So I did a little research and I thought we could do two things. One was I'm gonna play a video that's 3 minutes long that's about the history of Labor Day. So we can just learn about Labor Day together. Yay! Also, I'm gonna put a bunch of links in our group notes that will have more stuff about Labor Day. Honestly, y'all, I did watch like 20 minutes of History of Labor Day videos. I am not going to force you to enjoy that with me. I had a great time. So we're going to leave those links in there, and I'm only going to play the one from the root because I'm me and those are my politics. But there's another one that has a really great history of both Labor Day in Canada and the United States. Highly recommend them. Then I'd like to invite Joshua. Joshua introduced me to a platform called AirMe. And it's a place where we've been discussing over and over again, how can we find spaces for open source technology? One of the exercises we like to do every third or fourth one of these gatherings is to do a field trip. So we would like to do a field trip to AirMe. So Joshua will share screen, talk us through AirMe, help us to understand what the platform is, and then we get to fully leave here and go have conversations about labor in AirMe and potentially end early because it's Labor Day. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna go into the ocean. That's my plan. Oh, hey, and Tanya, if you want to voice that aloud, I want to make sure I've made space for folks to do late entry introductions, or I can voice myself. Feel free just to let us know in the chat if you'd like to say hi, hello to folks verbally. Really, really happy to have everyone here. Again, happy Labor Day. I'm going to share screen and play this video right now. See if I can successfully do that. All right, here we are with our notes. Hey everyone, all of those amazing shows and projects you were talking about, drop them in the notes. That's how we're able to visit your work and have fun with it. All right, so that was the transmedia Facebook conversation on the new Zoom windows. Very exciting. Oh, this is the TED Ed one. Why do Americans and Canadians celebrate Labor Day? But we're gonna watch this one. Yes, all right, The Root. Hitting play. Let's actually have the volume fully up. Hitting play.
Labor Day is a time to recognize the American labor movement. You know, the contributions that workers have made to this country. Newsflash, Black labor built this country. After slaves were legally freed in 1865, Black folks had a hell of a time finding employment, joining unions, and eventually the labor movement. Because yeah, the history of labor in America is racist as food. Labor Day became a federal holiday in 1894 after a strike led by the American Railway Union, known as the Pullman Strike. This was a turning point in the labor movement, though it didn't benefit all American workers. Black Pullman porters weren't allowed to participate in the strike because they were not allowed in the unions, but they wanted to be. Black people were organizing unions way back then too. Some scholars even date Black unions to as early as 1838. And in 1865, some African Americans were in white-collar professions like doctors and lawyers, while some free men filled blue-collar jobs like artisans, farm workers, laborers, servants, and caulkers. Speaking of ship caulkers, this is Isaac Myers. Born a free man in Baltimore in 1835, he started working as a ship caulker at 16. In the late 1850s, the white caulkers went on strike and even rioted against the well-unionized Black caulkers, who were sometimes paid more than them because of collective bargaining with Baltimore shipyard owners. Ultimately, the shipyards fired about 1,000 Black workers including Myers. Isaac Myers and other African-American laborers organized Black-run cooperative shipyards, the Chesapeake Marine Railway, and the Dry Dock Company. And they essentially employed themselves. Entrepreneurship, y'all. 300 Black workers were employed through this cooperative. The shipyard was leased for 20 years, then it was returned to its owner. This success eventually led to one of the first national Black labor organizations, the Colored National Labor Union. Myers became its first president in 1869. Their demands were simple: improve work conditions, eliminate discrimination within unions, and develop a national system of public education with equal opportunities for Blacks. Over 200 delegates attended the first CNLU convention in 1869, and 2 representatives met with President Ulysses S. Grant. Frederick Douglass became their second president in 1872. But the CNLU soon dissolved after becoming divided over supporting the Republican Party or the National Labor Reform Party. Though the CNLU existed for less than 5 years, it led to the incorporation of Black workers into white labor unions, like the Knights of Labor. It also paved the way for Black labor unions like the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. Established by A. Philip Randolph in 1925, this was the first African-American union to receive a charter in the American Federation of Labor, which later became the AFL-CIO. Randolph went on to become an outspoken leader in the civil rights movement. Finally, the work of Black labor unions was recognized. Well, kind of, sort of. This is America, y'all.
That's the end. Okay. Okay. Playing videos on Twitter. Good times. All right. Also today, there's a actual strike happening in, let's see, is this Arkansas?
On this day, the workers in the theater industry will hold a rally in Grand Rapids. They hope to get more financial help from the government.
In Grand Rapids, apparently. I will drop a link to that news story in our collective notes as well. But they are collectively bargaining because they want theater laborers to have an equal amount of state funding. So if I understand the story correctly, theater workers are being offered less subsidy, less support than other types of workers, which I find interesting. It's interesting how some types of labor are classed and resourced in different ways in our country. That's a thing. All right, so I'm going to take a moment before we go into field trip land and air meets, and a moment to talk about labor and the thing that we do, and also maybe some conversations about collective bargaining or cooperative structures. I look forward to figuring out how we do an open space technology conversation in air meets where we can choose a topic with different tables. But before we do that, does anyone else want to say hi, hello? I'm coming from here. My practice is this. I'm working on this stuff. You can check out my work here. Just want to make sure I'm making space for all folks to say hi, hello, and introduce themselves if they desire. Please, you go right ahead, unmute yourself and say hi, hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm Letitia. Hi, hello. I'm a writer, and yes, just happy to be here.
Well, then I am officially passing the microphone to you, Joshua. There you go.
Thank you. Here's my mic. Great. So AirMe is a conferencing software. That's really what it's built for. It's built for a virtual conference. But it gives you some autonomy, which I hadn't seen on other platforms, which I thought was interesting. I attended a virtual conference in it, and I found it interesting. So let's take a little field trip to check it out, and maybe it'll be useful. I do think there are creative implications that we can talk about when we get in there, about how it could be used both as a performance space and also how it could be used as an autonomous performance space if you were doing a small festival, as some things that are in my head that it could be used at. Okay, so I put a link in the chat. If you click on that link, you can actually be in the AirMates AirMe space with me. I'm also going to share my screen for those of you who for some reason can't join. But if a couple of us join, we can show more than me by myself. Me by myself doesn't get to show a lot of the features, but if at least a few of us are there. Yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Joshua, what do we need to do in terms of muting to make sure we don't create that weird feedback loop when you're trying to be in multiple digital spaces at once? Like, should folks, if they're going to AirMe, should they just go into AirMeets fully and only be in AirMeets? I imagine that's going to save their computer processing as well.
I think that would help because you will be able to, well, yeah, you will be able to hear through AirMe as long as I'm presenting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think you can also mute yourself in AirMe, which is the interesting thing. So, because it has its own video conferencing. So cool. So if you see AirMe, it's best used on Google Chrome if you have Google Chrome, and you can quickly kind of register for my event and then join the event. I labeled my event as producing in pandemic AirMe, and so that should come up if you click on the link and then sign in. And I'm trying to kind of keep open both windows so that I can see you also in Zoom. And let me share my screen as well here for those of you who can't directly get in. Okay, great. Can you see my screen? Can you see where I'm at? Yeah, great. And anybody trying to get in? And I don't see anybody yet. So essentially, this is while people try to log in, I know that it does take a second for a registration process where either you can enter with your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook or your email, and then you can join. Great, fantastic, Kholoud, I see you here. Wonderful. Okay, so so you'll notice here is essentially the networking area. You have the control before like the actual live session happens, right? Whether it was a presenter or a speaker, or whether it is a show that you want to do. You have the audience has the control to join tables. So I see that that Kholoud's right here. You can see that also it gives a little calling card, which is really interesting. Under it, you can put your title, who you work for, what you do, and also your location. So that's an interesting thing that it like essentially gives you a little calling card, and you can actually exchange that calling card at the table. So this is built for networking. I mean, this is really built for a virtual conference. So if I join, right, great, there's two people at this table. I've put 8 chairs at this table. That's the most you can have at a table. It works best with 4 because 4, everybody gets to see each other. So if I join here, there'll be 4 of us and we'll all be in the same thing. I'm gonna stay on mute here though, like actually in this session. That way I won't have the feedback of having 2 things open. But if any of you talk to each other, you basically are having your own little Zoom conference with, you have options of turning on your video, you have options to share screens, same as Zoom. You can change the layout if you want to specifically see just a few people. Once we get beyond 4 people, I think it automatically switches to a mode where you can't see everyone. Actually, no, we're at 5 and we can see everyone. Fantastic, great. They might have upgraded it because I think that it only did 4 when I tried it last time. So fantastic. Maybe it'll actually let us see up to 8. Cool. So everybody can talk to each other. You can hear. Let's see. There's a table chat, and so you can type and say hi or whatever you want to put in the chat. And there also is a setting. I'm trying to figure it out. There's a setting to exchange your virtual calling card, like basically what's underneath our name, that it says like Claudia, Alick, Gazette producer calling up justice, Bay Area. You can actually exchange that. I'm trying to figure out where I can do that. Is it on the 3 dots? There should be a spot where we can do that. Settings. No, that's not it. If anyone finds that out, let me know. But I know that's actually an option of of this platform, which is kind of cool. Because then we can like say, hey, I really want you to remember me, and I can give you my little calling card. Now, I'm gonna leave this table while you all are kind of playing there. You also have the choice to leave the table and join another, right? So if I wanted to join another table and I was like, hey, I talked with them for a bit pre-show or pre-conference and I wanna join another, I can come over to another table and then have a private conversation with that person or have a conversation with new people that I hadn't met, and you can switch around. So that autonomy is kind of fun, right? That like you can actually like have the choice to like, where are you gonna actually talk with people? So that's fun as well. And especially because this is in the networking area, there's also a backstage. So I'm gonna go backstage. And if I was performing, right, like if we were actually using this to produce a show, backstage would be where your performers would be. They don't have to be in the front unless they want to. They also have the choice to be there and mingle amongst everyone else, but they could be backstage. Multiple people can be backstage. And, but I think they have to be invited by the host, right? But it gives you the option to go to the lounge. So here, if I have the same session options here as well, but I also have this option to start a session being backstage. And so everyone else is right now like at their tables. If I hit start session, it's going to tell everybody that, hey, in about like 5 seconds, there's going to be a live session starting. And then whoever is presenting can present to the entire group. Right? So that's like how you could basically start a show, right? You kind of have your lobby and then you have your show area. So now I'm connecting, and everyone who's in AirMe should be able to see me in a second. As it said, good to go. Am I hidden? Or you wanna stop your, no, cancel. Can you see my face or no? Okay, for something, it might be hidden to me right now.
We're not seeing your video. The view I'm seeing though is a webinar view, which is interesting. So all I can do is raise my hand if I want to ask a question. I can give an emoticon reaction, but there is no video.
There should be a video. Yeah, there's emoticons and there's webinars, right? Which is great. And there's also a way for me to take a poll. I can start a vote for yes or no in the back of this. And people can take it. But I'm wondering why I can't see myself when I was on it before. I'm not sure. I'm kind of new to this by myself, but I also test speaker and mic. No, that's all there. But it's you do have the option to actually like share yourself. Trying to figure.
May I ask another question? What about recording?
Sure.
Can you record yourself on this platform on AirMeet?
Yeah, it's currently recording now that I hit see if you see the recording button down here. Now that I hit the present mode, it's actually recording me right now. So so there is a recording option. No, I don't want to hide me. Hide me. Don't hide me. Yeah, not sure why you can't see my face in this area, but we'll see. You can go to take a break, right? So like, let's say we did a presentation. We were in the middle of like a small show that we did back here. And the nice thing too about the backstage session is that I can talk to people back here, right? Like there's a chat, like we can be chatting. In fact, if we need to take a break, so I pause the live session. I saw recording isn't very transparent on this end. Yeah, I think it's only recording the performer. I don't believe it's recording anyone who's in the audience. So I think that's why the recording isn't as transparent or like an opt-in on your end. It's not recording you. It's only recording the actual performer. But it says right here, turn on live session recording, right? So you have as the performer can turn on the live session recording in the bottom. You can manage abuse if you need to like block someone, if someone's like spamming. You can, I believe that like when someone raises a hand, it shows up here. I think I invite like an attendee I can invite them to the stage. So I could invite you to the stage. Attendee is in non-interactive mode, which restricts them to be invited. Okay, Interesting. I guess there's a mode in which you are either interactive or not. Let me see here. If I invite Claudia to the stage, I'm inviting you, Claudia, to the stage. So Claudia now can join Backstage with me and speak as well, if we go back to a live session. And then you can also, like, if you're backstage, go to the lounge.
So I just, oh, actually, wait here.
How did you turn it on?
I think you're muted, Claudia.
I thought I was unmuted on the AirMe, which would mean that you could actually hear me, but I don't think that worked. I was attempting to have my voice go through the AirMe so you could actually hear me. I was saying that I was able to make my video work, and the icon at the bottom of the screen was just, it was a rather intuitive thing. It's just a camera icon, so it felt very easy. All right, colleagues, friends, do we want to go, well, actually, do we want to take a couple of moments here on camera to ask each other questions about this platform, but then do we want to just go to it for the rest of the session and just have conversations and play around on it? All right, let's take 5 minutes just to stick around here to reflect on AirMe.
How can I seem to be waiting here, but not in on AirMe.
You're waiting, interesting. Okay, so did you join and can you sit down at one of the tables?
No, I only see, it says welcome session and speaker Claudia Alick. So that's kind of like what my screen like is showing.
Oh yes, good. And so then expand that and you should be able to see the tables that you can actually interact with.
As in,
like it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah,
you gotta make it wider. Yeah.
You do have to make it wide or it won't show you everything. Yeah. So if you make it wide enough, then you should be able to actually pick a table, sit down, chat with people, and then essentially like when our speaker is ready, they will then be able to present. But they give us that countdown. And you can actually time it too. Like you can put a time that like presentation is going to happen at 4 and it'll let everybody know like 4 p.m. is when our first showing or presentation or conference is happening. Yeah.
I think also worth noting, I mean, I'm not a Google Chrome user myself, so I don't often, you know, it opens at a certain size in my computer and it was not in my input to just like maximize it or open it fully. And then, you know, if you don't do that by hand, as you said, like it doesn't show the tables and stuff. So it's interesting that that's the choice, right? And like us, anyways.
That is an incredibly useful discovery, Carlos, because yeah, it's non-intuitive. It looks like that's what the main screen should be. And your instinct is just to stay there in that view. But all you have to do is expand your screen a little bit and then boom, all the tables just appear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? I was just looking if I went through all the features.
I always like to talk price points. Oh, and Adriana dropped a question in the chat.
I'm gonna stop my share so I can see the chat because I'm having trouble with so many windows right now. Hold on a second. Is there a maximum amount of guests for backstage area? I believe you can have. I don't think there's a maximum in the backstage. There is in the front per table. It's 4 to 8 people per table. But I don't think there's a maximum in the backstage that I know of. That's a good question. I do not claim to be the ultimate expert of AirMe though. I was kind of like, I'm facilitating this field trip, but it's possible there's a maximum, but not that I knew of. I think you can invite as many people to speaker as you want. You can also pre-invite them via email, and they have that when you're setting up your event. You can like choose how many people you want to send an invitation to be a speaker, and then they will come in and have access to Backstage.
And I'm glad that we've said this out loud, and we should repeat it a few more times. Whenever Calling Up Justice, Producing in Pandemic is experimenting with some platform, we are not representing the platform, recommending the platform, inviting people to spend money on the platform. This is us to a certain extent learning, oh, this is how these folks are working on these technological and performative problems in digital space. And then we get to make a bunch of judgments. But also, we're going to leave with a bunch of questions because none of us are actually experts on this platform. I'm trying to figure out what the price point is, though. Like how much, like the Build conference that's happening this weekend, that will have an entire day that's on economic justice. We're using the Hopin2 platform. So I'm, by using it, getting more capacity and competency on it. I'm finding that with a lot of these platforms, it's hard to figure out what they're good at unless you're willing to spend a little bit of money to play with them. What's the story with AirMe? What's the price point to really get to know it? This feels free to me. I want to figure out if that's true.
So what I'm seeing, looking it up, because the two ones that I've been in have been free, right? So I think that like for a certain amount of guests, it is free. I believe that like you need to upgrade if you want to go beyond that. So it looks like there's a free trial, yes. Deployment, it's all web-based, which I think is in some ways nice because you don't have to install anything. So nobody who's coming to your meeting has to like pre-install anything. They're all equal as long as they have a web browser. But I guess Google Chrome is better for it. They have a 24/7 live rep, which is nice. It looks like in terms of pricing, it says starting price is not provided by vendor. So I think you have to actually like click on the I want to buy this section to get it going. Because right now, I mean, I've only done it through free trials. So that's a good question. I was looking through Cafeteria.
Well, my friends, thank you for muting yourself. Let's go check out AirMe and have a conversation about labor. This is the performative score where I'm inviting you all to join us for. Normally we gather and we generally end our gathering around 11:30. So like that's as long as I'm gonna hang out. We already have next week all planned out, so we will not be doing a post-planning session after this. So I'm inviting us all to go to AirMe, pick a table, choose a topic on the, you know, loosely around Labor Day. You can talk about what's the history of Labor Day. Maybe one of your tables actually wants to find out what the tea is with Grand Rapids and what they're doing. Maybe you just want to have a conversation about what are the unions that you're using and how are unions actually serving you in your practice. I look forward to any conversations we have. Does everyone have the link before we end this session? We got to make sure everyone actually has the link to get to the AirMe. Just give me a visual hands up, or maybe hit the button that gives you a thumbs up, like a digital thumbs up. All right, I'm seeing.
Hi, it's Mickey. I have not gotten anything. I've just been making my breakfast. Sorry.
I re-put it in the chat. If you see it right there in the chat.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at you. Come on, get that breakfast.
The other thing that I thought was interesting about AirMe, you can name the tables. So let's say you were running a class and you wanted one to be like an improv table, right? Again, limit of eight students. But let's say you were running a class or a workshop. One could be an improv table, another could be something else. You can put a little icon, you can label the table with a picture as well.
All right. All right, my friends and colleagues, again, it's Labor Day. So if we don't meet you at Air Meets, we know that you're at the beach having a great time. Thank you so much for joining us today for Producing in Pandemic, and we look forward to having some amazing conversations. Also, please make sure to drop the links to the work that you are working on in those meeting notes so that we can continue to track and support your work. It was really beautiful to see your faces. Wash your hands, stay healthy, and also keep hydrated. The planet's very hot right now, so just stay cool. Thanks, friends. See you there, Meets. Goodbye.